So yesterday we saw Kubernetes architecture, almost a little bit closer to the architecture, and then Kubernetes objects. What are the Kubernetes objects? Like pod, service, replica set. What else did we see yesterday? We didn't see any examples so far. We just saw what is a pod. Pod is the smallest unit of the Kubernetes, or smallest object in the Kubernetes. Service will expose your service, your pod to the external world. I'm still getting echo. Is someone unmuted? Replica set is to rep- create multiple replicas of same multiple applications of the same. Okay. Here we talked about pods, right? That is in Kubernetes or EKS, anything, we call it as pod. With respect to ECS, we call it as tasks. With respect to Docker, we simply call it as container. So when we initially started our classes, we went with auto-scaling groups. If you guys remember, auto-scaling groups, and inside EC2 instances. You guys are able to hear me, right? Just give me a quick
Yes, Shankar, we
confirmation.
can hear you.
Sure. Okay. So we have multiple EC2 instances connected to each other, or maybe within auto-scaling group. But what would happen with auto-scaling group is you can only manage EC2 instances. For example, even if you want to manage some deployments here, you can use user data to manage your services running inside your EC2 machines. For example, there is a new instance added to the group, auto-scaling groups. You can actually use user data to run whatever required services or install packages, all that you can do. So that's at the EC2 instance level or at the system service level. There is a um, probably one disadvantage, or maybe there is something you cannot really do it. What exactly is it? Just simply use auto-scaling groups with user data. You will be still lacking to manage your containers. Is it clear to you guys? You cannot really manage your containers running in the EC2. Is that clear? If you just use only auto-scaling groups and user data.
Yes, Shankar,
Because,
yes.
okay, what exactly is a add-on here so that we can manage containers running in EC2, not just a traditional service. So inside EC2, you plan to run the containers. So you plan to run containers, let's say Docker containers. We are not going to see any other containers. Let's say Docker containers are running inside this EC2. What is the way to manage the Docker containers? All these machines, we should make it part of one cluster. And that cluster should have some operating system or service or agent that manages your cluster. So it is AWS managed service is called Elastic Container Service. So this provides an agent to the instances that manages the running containers. Any questions on this? ECS is a container management system provided by AWS, which is completely managed by AWS. There is no other third party. So apart from managing the EC2 instances through auto-scaling groups, ECS manages the containers running inside the EC2. Sorry, ECS manages the containers running in EC2. So how does it run the container inside your EC2? ECS creates tasks. ECS creates services. ECS allows you to do auto scaling. Here, when I say auto scaling, it is a service level auto scaling, not at the EC2 instance level. Service level means task level. You can add more tasks, you can reduce the task based on your metrics. We always use this basic fundamental metric, that is CPU or memory. So is it clear at this point? Is there any doubts?
Yes, Shankar, clear.
Clear, right? Okay. The same thing when it goes to Kubernetes or EKS, there is always a cluster concept. Without that, there is no application running. 1, 2, 3, 4, minimum of 2 to 4 instances connected to each other. That behaves like a cluster, a single machine. You need to have some software or agent running on all these machines so that you are able to manage the cluster. That is what is Kubernetes software will take care of managing the containers. Sorry, managing the containers as well as managing the instances which are there inside. Here we call it as pods, services, replica set, auto scaling. So all in all, if you really look at it at the high level, tasks, containers, services to expose the application to the outside world, replica set or auto scaling, create replica, that is again minimum, maximum, decide. So these three counts will be there always when you go for auto scaling. And again, threshold, and based on some metrics, you either scale up or scale down. That's a complete concept of any cloud-based deployments. The funda behind all this, you are always talking about high availability, high scalability, fault tolerance. These three are the fundamental architecture concept behind running containers or running EC2 instances, whatever it is. If you want to achieve a high reliability, reliable product to the customer, you should have at least minimum this. Apart from reliable, you also see performance, security, cost, everything comes into picture. Okay. Any doubts on this? Okay. We'll just go a little further and then see what is Docker file. Docker file is a plain text file, contains set of instructions. What exactly is the first line of the Docker file? Kushal?
Image.
Shankar, OS
Yeah,
related.
Docker base image. What are the other commands? It'll be like run, add, cmd, or some other commands will be there. All some basics that you need to learn. Even though
Yeah,
it is
copy.
copy, you can simply think about what do you do normally in the EC2 instances to deploy probably Apache server. If you think about this one, and as a developer, how you deploy your application and start running the application so that customer can access it. Same exactly you will do it in the Docker file. So you will have a Docker different stages: Docker build, Docker push, Docker pull, and then Docker deploy. That is nothing but Docker run. So when it comes to task in ECS, task in ECS, what exactly the format is? You have any idea? It's a
Jason.
JSON format. So this contains exactly the same information as your Docker file plus always your what is your CPU you are dedicating to the particular task. CPU, memory, probably network. So many other things. So it will be little advanced. You have to well define your task so that where exactly it runs, how much CPU it uses, how much memory it uses, what is the volume that you are mounting, everything you should put it here. It is not just like a simple Docker run command. Okay. The same thing is true when you go for pod in EKS or Kubernetes or EKS. So all are same. It is self-managed. This is AWS managed. This is Azure managed. Okay, any doubts on this? Pod is the smallest object in any of this. So for all this, Kubernetes is a base. Okay, any questions?
No, Shankar.
Sure. So one important thing with respect to ECS is AWS provides a console access to manage your ECS cluster. Okay, like you can do auto scaling, service creation, task creation, all that you can do using ECS console. Whereas with respect to EKS, Kubernetes EKS, you mostly work with a YAML file. It is always a command line deployment. There is no user interface through which you can manage your containers unless until it is customized for you to get something done. Is it clear at this point?
Yeah, Shankar.
So with respect to Docker, it is container. With respect to ECS, it is task. With respect to Kubernetes, it is pod. So you should have a clear distinction of all this. Then it will create a better picture to have an understanding of the Kubernetes objects. It is YAML. So you should have at least some basics of basics understanding of YAML and JSON. So this will be our next focus before we actually do a deep dive into the Kubernetes objects. Okay, you can stop recording, Kushal.